Imagine trying to manage a sudden massive spike in global supply chain demand by just staring at 1,000 separate spreadsheets.
Yeah, I mean, you literally can't do it.
Right, you can't.
Hmm.
By the time you actually find the bottleneck, well, the opportunity is totally gone. And that's the exact situation a global giant like Coca-Cola faced recently.
Oh, right. Their huge supply chain overhaul.
Exactly. When they needed to streamline their entire worldwide sales and supply chain, they didn't just, hire an army of analysts to crunch numbers in endless grids.
No, they fundamentally shifted how they visualize their data.
Yeah, they pulled these highly fragmented global data sources into a single cohesive visual interface.
Yeah.
It gave them real-time insights into sales trends and supply efficiency.
Which is absolutely huge when consumer demand suddenly shifts out of nowhere.
Right. They didn't have to guess. They could literally see the shift happening and just react instantly. So welcome to Kanerika's podcast, The Digital Shift. Today's deep dive takes us straight into the profound bottom-line impact of visual analytics on the modern enterprise.
And honestly, it's a brilliant place to start. That Coca-Cola scenario really captures the reality of enterprise operations today. Hoarding massive amounts of data just isn't an advantage anymore because, well, everybody has data.
Yeah, data's cheap now.
Exactly. The advantage comes from having a lens that brings all that chaos into immediate, sharp focus.
And there's a statistic from the Aberdeen Group that puts a hard number on that advantage. They found that businesses using advanced data visualization tools are 28% more likely to find timely information.
Wow, almost 30%.
Right, compared to those relying on traditional reporting and spreadsheets. So think about that in the context of a fast-moving market. A 28% edge in finding the truth is literally the difference between capturing a trend early and becoming completely irrelevant.
That speed is the entire ballgame now, which
Yeah.
is really why we're seeing such fierce competition between the platforms that actually provide these capabilities.
Totally. And today we are putting the two undisputed heavyweights of 2026 head-to-head. We're talking Power BI and Tableau.
Two absolute massive titans.
But before we get into the software itself, I do want to challenge the premise a little bit. I get that staring at grids of numbers is, soul-crushing for most of us.
Right.
But ultimately, the numbers are the numbers.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Right, like does putting data into a pie chart or a colorful graph actually change a business outcome? I mean, it feels like we're just talking about making things look pretty for a boardroom presentation.
You're touching on probably the biggest misconception in business intelligence right there. People think visualization is just about aesthetics. It's really not.
It's not.
No, it's entirely about the mechanics of human cognition. Specifically, it's about reducing cognitive load.
Cognitive load, meaning how hard our brains have to work just to translate what's on the screen into an actual thought.
Precisely. Let's say I hand you a spreadsheet with 10,000 rows of regional sales data, and I ask you to find the underperforming region.
I would immediately quit my job.
Right, because your brain has to read, process, hold that number in short-term memory, and then compare it to the next individual value just to find a pattern. It's exhausting.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
But if I feed that same data into a geographic heat map, your visual cortex instantly recognizes the dark blue icy spot in the Pacific Northwest, for example. You didn't calculate a single thing.
Oh, wow. So your brain just did the heavy lifting in milliseconds.
Exactly. It bypasses the analytical bottleneck in our brains so that insights literally just jump out at you.
Okay, that makes complete sense. It accelerates the time to decision.
It does. You suddenly start seeing hidden correlations and outliers that are practically invisible in raw columns. And there's another massive benefit here, too. It democratizes the data.
Meaning, you don't need a PhD in data science to realize the boat is sinking.
Right, exactly. A visual dashboard creates this universal language across departments. So marketing, operations, and finance can all look at the exact same trend line and see that inventory is plummeting while demand is spiking.
So literally anyone can spot the crisis. That is powerful. Which brings us perfectly to the two titans competing to build that universal language. Let's look at the landscape here.
Let's do it.
On one side, we have Power BI, obviously developed by Microsoft. It's heavily praised for its affordability, a really intuitive interface, and how seamlessly it snaps into the broader Microsoft ecosystem.
Yeah, it's very accessible out of the box.
And then on the other side, we have Tableau, This is the absolute powerhouse of advanced visual analytics, famous for this incredible drag-and-drop customization that lets you build practically anything.
Though it definitely comes with a much steeper learning curve.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
The differing philosophies of these two tools really dictate how a business interacts with its own information. Let me try an analogy here.
Go for it.
It sounds like Power BI is a high-end smart home. Like, you buy it, and all the appliances automatically talk to each other right out of the box with minimal effort.
Okay, I like that.
And then Tableau, on the other hand, is like a custom-built architect's workshop. You can build literally anything you want to exact specifications, but you really need to know how to use the heavy machinery.
That's a perfect way to frame it, actually, the smart home versus the architect's workshop. And you really see that play out immediately when you look at connectivity and integration.
How so?
Well, Power BI thrives inside the Microsoft Power Platform. So if your company uses Azure, Office 365, or Power Automate, Power BI is designed to integrate with zero friction.
But wait, what if a company isn't paying Microsoft a fortune already? Does Power BI suddenly turn into a paperweight?
Not a paperweight, no, but the value proposition definitely shifts. It's still incredibly powerful, particularly when it comes to data preparation. Power BI uses something called the Power Query Editor.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it runs on the M language.
Wait, M language, is that like similar to SQL, or are we talking about something completely different?
It's pretty different. Think of M language, which actually stands for data mashup, as a step-by-step recipe for cleaning your data. It's a functional language that records your steps.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
Well, if you tell it to remove blank rows, then capitalize a column, then merge two tables, it saves that exact sequence. So every time new data comes in, it runs that same recipe automatically.
Oh, that's incredibly handy. Highly robust data cleaning built right into the visualization tool. So the smart home cleans up after itself. How does Tableau handle messy data then?
Tableau's approach is definitely broader. The interface has basic cleaning tools, but for complex, really messy transformations, you usually have to step outside the main application.
Like using a totally separate program?
Yeah, you'd use an external tool like Tableau Prep Builder, or you'd rely on pre-cleaning the data in a dedicated warehouse before it ever even reaches the visualization layer.
Got it. So it takes a bit more setup.
It does. But where Tableau really flexes its muscles is in its open ecosystem. It has extremely robust native connectors and third-party integrations. You can natively hook Tableau into complex scripts using Python or R.
Wait, so if I have a team of data scientists running a custom machine learning model in Python to predict customer churn, Tableau can just connect to that script.
Yep, and it can visualize the predictive results live.
Wow, okay. That is the architect's workshop in action right there. But let's talk about sharing these insights, because finding the trend in a vacuum doesn't really help the business.
Right. It has to reach the right people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Power BI seems to lean heavily on Microsoft Teams for this, right?
It does, heavily. The collaboration is seamless. You can drop a fully interactive dashboard directly into a Teams chat channel. You can tag someone, and they can filter the data right there in the chat window.
That's super convenient. And Tableau.
Tableau relies on Tableau Server for highly secure on-premise deployments, or Tableau Online for cloud sharing. They are incredibly powerful, secure ways to distribute reports.
But I'm guessing they lack that native instant chat app workflow that Power BI enjoys.
Exactly. It's a bit more formal.
Okay, so all of this day-to-day functionality is great, but let's look at the infrastructure side. You just mentioned connecting to machine learning models and processing massive data sets.
Yeah, the heavy data.
Right. When a business scales up, say they acquire a competitor and their data volume triples overnight, how do these tools perform under the weight? Because if my dashboard suddenly takes 20 minutes to load, the tool is useless.
Performance at scale is a major dividing line here. Power BI is highly efficient for small to medium data sets.
But what are the big stuff?
Well, when you start throwing massive, deeply complex data models at it, you can definitely experience a slowdown. This happens because Power BI relies on a mix of in-memory storage and relational database querying.
Let me go back to the kitchen analogy for a second. Power BI is like a chef who keeps the most common ingredients right on the counter for speed.
Right.
But for the rare stuff, they have to literally stop cooking and walk out to the freezer in the garage.
Yes. And that walk to the garage introduces latency. Tableau, conversely, handles massive scale beautifully because it utilizes a highly optimized in-memory analytics architecture.
So to finish the analogy, Tableau basically just built an industrial walk-in freezer right into the center of the kitchen.
Exactly. It breezes through terabytes of data because the engine is fundamentally designed for that kind of heavy lifting.
But managing that scale, or suddenly needing to change platforms because you outgrew your current setup, I mean, that sounds like an absolute nightmare.
Oh, it absolutely can be.
Right. If you have years of business logic embedded in Tableau dashboards and your company suddenly decides to move to the Microsoft ecosystem, wouldn't a data team just be manually copying and pasting code for 6 months?
It is sheer agony for a data team. Manual migration is incredibly resource-intensive, it's prone to human error, and it completely disrupts daily operations. And frankly, this is exactly what we at Kanerika deal with every single day.
Okay, yeah, tell me more about that.
Well, we manage these complex enterprise-level data projects across practically every industry. We frequently architect unified solutions, basically consolidating a company's analytics infrastructure using Microsoft Fabric and Power BI.
Hey, wait, just to clarify for you guys listening, we mentioned Fabric earlier. What actually is Microsoft Fabric in simple terms?
Think of Fabric as the massive umbrella that covers all your data tools. Instead of buying your storage here, your computing power there, and your analytics somewhere else, Fabric puts the data lake, the engineering, and Power BI all under one unified operating system.
Oh, so it just simplifies everything.
Exactly. It brings it all together.
Okay, so we at Kanerika help companies move on to these unified systems. But how do we avoid that copying and pasting nightmare during a massive migration?
Well, we built a way out. Our team developed proprietary tools specifically designed for seamless Tableau-to-Power BI migration with minimal manual intervention.
Wait, really? How does that even work?
We use our unified data platform, Flip, to completely automate the transition. Flip preserves the business logic, the intricate dashboard structures, and the underlying data connections.
So Flick actually does the heavy lifting of translating the architecture from one platform to the exact equivalent on the other.
It does. But what's really fascinating is that Flip isn't just a migration accelerator. It essentially acts as a built-in AI workforce for your entire data ecosystem.
An AI workforce, like doing what?
It automates your daily data pipelines so information flows faster. It handles intelligent tasks like automated invoice processing, for instance. By integrating this autonomous capability, Flip ensures that migrations, governance, and daily workflows happen with a level of speed and accuracy that manual processes just can't match.
Wow. So instead of a migration taking months of agonizing downtime, Flip just works in the background to maintain operational continuity. That is a huge strategic advantage.
It really is. It changes the whole game.
But let's follow the money here for a second. You just talked about building industrial freezers in the kitchen and processing terabytes of data. That level of computing power cannot be cheap. How much is this actually costing an enterprise?
So the pricing models couldn't be more different. Power BI is aggressively priced to capture market share. I mean, there's a free desktop version just for individual use.
Free is always good.
Right. And if you want to collaborate, Power BI Pro is just $10 per user per month. And their premium tier, which unlocks dedicated cloud compute and advanced AI features, is only $20 a month.
Okay, so compare that to Tableau.
Tableau operates on a significantly higher cost tiered model. You have Tableau Creator for the analysts actually building the dashboards, Tableau Explorer for users who just need to interact with existing data, and Tableau Viewer for executives simply looking at published reports.
So you're paying for different levels of access.
Exactly, and the licensing costs scale up incredibly fast compared to Microsoft.
Which makes me really want to push back on the value proposition here. I mean, $10 a month versus a premium Tableau tier is a massive financial gap for an enterprise with thousands of employees.
It's a huge gap, yeah.
Right. So at what point does a company's need for highly customizable charts actually justify paying that much more for Tableau?
It entirely comes down to industry applications and the complexity of the questions you're actually asking your data. Let's look at retail or finance, for instance.
Okay.
Power BI is phenomenal for this. A retail chain needs budget monitoring, inventory tracking, and internal sales pipelines. The data is relatively straightforward, and the goal is rapid internal visibility. The $10 Pro license is an absolute no-brainer there.
But then you look at a sector like healthcare or pharmaceuticals.
Right. Tableau absolutely shines in pharma.
Right.
Why? Because you aren't just looking at regional shoe sales, you are tracking incredibly complex, multivariable clinical trial data.
So much higher stakes.
Exactly. You might be analyzing patient demographics against varying drug dosages and long-term side effects over a 5-year period. You have to present these highly nuanced findings to medical boards and external regulators.
So you can't afford any distortion.
Exactly. You need the deep statistical analysis, that native Python integration we mentioned earlier, and the ability to customize every single pixel of the visualization to accurately represent a complex scientific truth. In that specific scenario, the higher cost of Tableau is fully justified by its capability.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. The tool has to match the complexity of the environment. But, cost and current features are only part of the story here.
Very true.
If we want to understand the future of enterprise data in 2026, we have to talk about where the puck is actually moving. What happens to these platforms as AI takes center stage?
We are seeing a fundamental transformation right now. AI is turning these platforms from passive reporting tools, where you just look at a chart to see what happened last quarter, into active advisors that literally tell you what you should do tomorrow.
And we're seeing this heavily with Power BI Copilot, right? By integrating with Microsoft Fabric, you can now use natural language queries.
Yes, exactly.
You don't even need to write code. You just top a question like, why did our global supply chain costs spike in Q3? And the AI dynamically generates the visualization, parses the data, and writes out a narrative answer explaining the bottleneck.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And Tableau is answering that exact capability with Tableau Pulse. Pulse is completely designed to deliver automated, proactive insights. It just sits in the background, constantly monitoring your metrics.
So it's always watching.
Always. And when it detects an emerging trend or an anomaly, it actively pushes that insight to the user before the user even knows to look for it.
Oh, wow. It's essentially an analyst tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, you might want to look at this.
Yes. And this convergence raises an incredibly important point about the trajectory of visual analytics. AI is actively bridging the gap between the two platforms. Well, the complex, deep visualizations that used to require a seasoned Tableau expert can now be partially generated just by asking the AI in Power BI. Meanwhile, the user-friendly automated reporting of Power BI is being totally matched by the proactive AI insights of Tableau Pulse.
It's democratizing the data to an extreme degree. You no longer need to know M language or Python to get a complex answer. You just need to know how to talk to the AI.
Exactly. The technical barrier to entry is basically dropping to zero.
Which fundamentally changes the entire enterprise workflow.
It completely rewrites it.
So let's bring this all together. Whether a business chooses the highly integrated, cost-effective Microsoft ecosystem of Power BI or the deeply analytical, infinitely customizable canvas of Tableau, one thing is universally clear here. Advanced visual analytics are the central nervous system of the modern enterprise. You literally cannot compete without them.
You can. And as the data grows, the tools required to manage it will only become more vital.
And as we've discussed today, we at Kanerika are entirely dedicated to helping organizations navigate this exact landscape. Whether it's providing exceptional data visualization, deep analytic services, or utilizing proprietary platforms like Flip to automate your data pipelines and migrate massive systems seamlessly.
Because having the best tool in the world really doesn't matter if you don't have the right strategy and infrastructure supporting it.
Exactly. Our mission is to optimize your operations so you can just focus on driving real business growth. Which leaves me with a final lingering thought for everyone listening.
Let's hear it.
Think back to our opening story about Coca-Cola. We talked about how visual data is like an X-ray, a clear picture replacing the murky confusion of raw spreadsheets. But as AI continues to automate our insights and these tools actually start predicting the future of our businesses for us, will the true value of a professional in the next decade lie in your ability to find the answers? Or will your value be entirely defined by learning how to ask the AI the right questions?
Wow. That is definitely the defining question for the next era of business.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time on The Digital Shift.